Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Uveino. Joining me today is Michael Hogan. Michael and I are both senior journalism majors at St. Bonaventure University, and as we go into our senior year here, we're going to be talking about, kind of our summer, how the trajectory of our careers and everything we've done here has changed since the coronavirus pandemic, and just kind of sharing our thoughts on, how we feel student media and everything is going to be different in senior year. So, Mike, thank you for joining me today. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff, for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk journalism with you.
Of course. So, like I said, Mike and I came into spring semester in January, kind of trying to do everything we could to get our foot in the door as young journalists. I know we both have been driven by a passion for sports writing, but at Bonaventure and the Jandoli School of Communication, we've been exposed to a lot of different types of work through outlets such as Tabernacle Olean, the Bonaventure, which is the student newspaper. We've done some radio station stuff, and as well as working at the Olean Times-Herald, the local daily paper near Bonas. And when the pandemic happened, as it has with everything in our lives, it really impacted our careers, young careers. I use that term very, very lightly. But, Mike, you have done a ton of coverage on COVID, and I think if anyone at Bonas has seen firsthand how covering the coronavirus is such a tall task to do and how it impacts everything so widely, it would be you. You've been all over COVID for Tabernacle Olean since March, breaking where cases are, when they are. And, this is something that we never really could have predicted that we had to cover. And it's been a group effort in covering all the spaces. You've been a leader of that. Could you just kind of talk about your experience of covering COVID and just how it's, has it been similar to anything you did previously?
No, Jeff, it is not similar to anything I've ever done. I think the thing that was the biggest challenge about it, and I still say this today as we speak, is it just feels like everything just changes so quickly. One moment is this, the next moment is that, and your interview that you did 10 minutes ago is useless now because it completely changed. But I think, just how rapid of a situation it is, and it really is just kind of one of those things that, it changes by the minute almost. And I think, the coverage I did on it, it was different than what I was used to, but at the same time, it's like I felt like I was ready for something like that because I think our professors here at the Jandoli School, I think they've done a great job preparing us for something like this. And I think just the big thing too is just realizing how important it is. Like you said, Jeff, it's impacted everything, including our school years and our career trajectories and whatever. Everything changed when the pandemic hit, and it really left a mark on everything. And, I wasn't able to cover everything. Nobody was. But I think the one thing I really did learn is that just how quickly things change and how decisions are made and, who is making the decisions. And just and each decision kind of has it's a ripple effect. It's made, and all of a sudden you start to see almost immediately what it's having an impact on. And just to go back to last March, all of a sudden, it almost felt like right away among students that I felt like people were kind of rooting for classes to be canceled. I don't know if you felt the same way at all, but it did kind of feel like that for a little bit. And then when we were all going home for good, everyone started realizing, wait a minute, we're not going to be able to do these things that we normally do. Spring weekend, seniors, the whole graduation, senior week, the junior prom, all this stuff that was so special got canceled, and just the whole in-person experience. Nobody wants to do class over a Zoom call. It's not ideal for anyone. It hurts more people than some others. But you just see how certain decisions and certain things really made an impact on people, and it was a human story. It wasn't there's a lot of administrative decisions, but then you saw how those decisions really impact people, and it was very interesting to cover that kind of thing. It really, even still today, I mean, we walk around campus now, it's in the back of your mind, okay, well, what's going on? How long is this going to last? And I hope it lasts long, just like you do, everyone else does, but we could see that similar situation again this year, and I hope we don't.
Yeah, and I think it's been such a prolonged situation. we're recording this on Monday, the first day of classes in August, and this is the first time I've been on campus since late March, which is obviously longer than it would usually be. And so this whole time, though, COVID has been at the forefront of what we're covering. And I think, if anything, it gave us the great experience to adapt.
Yeah.
Because before this, I was deep in my sports coverage. I mean, when a lot of the shutdowns happened was the weekend of the Atlantic 10 basketball tournament in March, the men's basketball tournament. And, the week leading up to that, we were on a normal trajectory for the basketball postseason, which for us as student journalists at Bonas,
that's huge.
That's the most important.
That's our Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's the biggest, most busy that we are all year. That's when we get a ton of our readership throughout the year, and it's really, in my opinion, the most exciting time.
Yeah.
And that was ripped away from us, and so all of this coverage that we would have been doing was gone. However, it's not like we were lacking in coverage after that, because news broke so quickly and it was happening in front of our eyes. And I'm sure all of you watching this or listening to this remember that all just happened so quickly, and it was a really quick news cycle. I think even quicker than any of us had experienced before. Mike, you said this lots of times, that this could be the most important story we ever covered.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we get to do it in college, so it's been interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, it's like you said, like it's just we were ripped away from that sports coverage, and everyone knows we're sports guys and we cover sports here on campus, but there's still some sports things to cover, getting reactions from these athletes and whatnot. But really, I kind of got away from the sports coverage for a little bit, and I was diving deep into the pandemic and really interviewing these health people in the area here near St. Bonaventure, and it was good. I think it was good. And I hate to say this, and not a lot of good came out of the pandemic for anybody, but I think for us to cover something like that and to be really involved and really learn about something new, a new type of writing, new type of reporting, I think that was good. And I think, employers in journalism might be looking at this kind of thing a couple of years from now and saying, hey, this kid, covered the pandemic. He was doing this and that during the pandemic. I think there's a lot of positives that will ultimately come out of this for a lot more people than you think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the pandemic applies to everything that we write, and it will going forward. I think that's a large topic that we as leaders of student media are trying to address this semester. And into the next is that, we may be writing about sports, we may be writing about entertainment, we may be writing about campus news, but it's all going to be related to COVID somehow. And one of the things that I think is that when I'm reading stories, the typical reader, if you don't mention COVID, they're going to be like, what is it? We've almost been conditioned to get to that point, whether it's for good or bad. I wouldn't prefer it myself, obviously, but it seems like you always have to mention it because it's always in the back of everybody's mind. Is you write a story and you say, this is what would happen in a normal year, but how is it different? And so, we'll be applying that to our sports writing coverage, obviously. And Mike, while COVID took up a ton of your time this summer, you had the opportunity to do some sports too, which is your first love. Mike this summer was a contributor for alltitans.com, which is an outlet of Sports Illustrated. So we got to do some, really interesting, fun stories about the Tennessee Titans. I'm sure that was a great experience for you. Tell people more about that.
Yeah, awesome experience. And a quick shout out to my boss, David Beauclair. He might listen to this. I don't know, but he was great. And I met David last winter. He emailed me out of the blue, really random email. But after he read one of my columns in the student newspaper, the Bonaventure here, and we connected through LinkedIn, and then he emailed me again this fall, or this spring. My brain's already fried. It's the first day of class, but
I'm busy.
Yeah, but he connected with me, this spring, just classes were ending, and he asked me. It was perfect timing because I had already sensed that my internship with the Lakeshore Chinooks, a summer collegiate baseball team in Wisconsin, was going to be canceled. So it was like almost like one door opening when the other one's closing kind of thing. And, it was a cool experience. And, we'd covered the Bonnie's men's basketball team for a couple of years, and that's kind of a beat writing thing. But this was really a beat writing thing. This was every day, following this and that, literally pulling stories from anything you can find and covering these press conferences, squeezing any little detail you can out of them. I think the coolest part for me just sitting in on those press conferences. I didn't ask any questions when I was in the pressers. I just kind of sat there and just observed what other reporters would ask on a daily basis. You could literally ask anything. There's no stupid question. I mean, sometimes coaches can get a little annoyed with certain questions, but it was just listening to how these other reporters, these professionals work and what they think's worth asking and what they don't think's worth asking. That was really, really fascinating to me, just to listen to them and just observing what other reporters are asking in these press conferences. I think that's like a big challenge for a lot of younger journalists. Sometimes the press conference environment can be nerve-wracking.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want other people to judge you for your questions. But after this summer, I feel completely just so much more prepared in the press conference setting. And another cool thing about it too is I kind of did these series of stories and some undrafted guys, and I got to interview them over the phone. I got to interview their college coaches. Those kind of feature stories are really cool to write, and just being able to be in the loop with a team. And I'm still doing it. Not as much, not every day, like I was in the summer, but just being in the loop with a professional sports team it's really cool position to be in, and it's just a great learning opportunity and good exposure on a pretty well-respected platform. And I'm sure you can say the same after what you did this summer with News 21. Out there in Arizona. Jeff, why don't you tell me a little about what you did out there in the Sun Devil State?
Yeah, so I did something that was a lot different than anything I was used to journalism-wise this summer. Is I did News 21, which is an investigative project that happens annually. It's a different topic each year, and this year our topic that we covered was the juvenile justice system. And so the program is through Arizona State. It gets funding from a couple different groups to help us be able to do the project, because it is, comprises of student journalists from all over the country, some undergrads, some grad school students. And all I can say is so many talented young journalists, people my age and a little older than me, that are just so talented, and such a diverse pool of candidates, people who are expert photographers and, great video people and great writers and people who are just great interviewers. And it really makes you step up your game when you're around those people. And so, I was in Arizona for about 2 months. The original plan of the project was to travel around the country to do our interviews. However, we were kind of sequestered in the Phoenix area and had to do much of our work remotely, which made it even more of a challenge, but it was also, like we said, great experience, and so we were able to do some good visuals. Our project is called Kids in Prison, and it actually just launched last Friday. We're recording this Monday, the 24th, so it launched August 21st. So really excited about that, and really excited that people get to see all of the work we did, because, doing investigative journalism is completely different than sports writing.
Absolutely. You kind of need you kind of need to know how to do that in sports journalism now, because, I remember a few years ago, I don't know who I was listening to, but you kind of need to have that skill. You need to know how to call up a police department, or if you're investigating a scandal, something like that. You just need to know how to do that stuff. That's just a really great skill to have. Another thing to kind of have in your toolkit.
Yeah, and talking to people that you wouldn't normally talk to, or that it could be nerve-wracking to. We talked to so many people. People who a lot of them who they had experience in the justice system. People who got in trouble when they were kids, they were locked up, and now they're adults and they got out, and which is obviously incredible to hear their stories. Some of the experience that these people have had that a lot of us wouldn't even imagine ourselves. And so getting to talk to so many different people is obviously tremendous, but also, like you said, with being how press conferences can be nerve-wracking. You and I started out freshman year covering Bono sports games, and we were scared to death to talk to Bono athletes, especially in basketball games when you're talking to the coach, and you got these athletes that such a spotlight is put on them. And now we have the responsibility to ask them questions. And so, being in those press conferences with professionals who know what they're doing, it makes you a little more comfortable. And like you said, you can learn what kind of questions to ask, what's important, what isn't. So you got that on, a professional level this summer, getting to cover NFL with NFL beat writers. And, I can say that my experience was somewhat similar to that, and that I'm not talking to athletes, I'm talking to, just people, well, that's a bad way to say it, obviously, but, it's a different topic. Talking to a lot of people in law enforcement, prosecutors, just people like that have experience with the justice system, lawyers, advocacy groups, just people, work that I wouldn't have done otherwise. And so I'm thankful to the Jane Doe School of Communication for, helping me do that. Tremendous experience, and I urge everybody to please look at Kids in Prison. It's a really great project, and I think you're going to be really impressed by the visuals that all of my great colleagues, put together without really the ability to go out and shoot video in the field, which seemed like an impossible task. But yeah, I was pleased with how it went, and I think that it was good to kind of diversify, like we've been saying.
Yeah, another thing you kind of touched on there, just working with people that are really good at what they do. And I felt that a lot this summer. My boss is really good at what he does. He's been a sports writer for I don't know how many, more than 30 years probably. I mean, he's been covering the Titans since they moved to Nashville or moved to Tennessee. And, you have someone like that looking at your work, and that's like, okay, well, I need to clamp down and I need to focus. I need to, I'm not, I never half-ass anything I do, but it really does kind of raise your level a little bit. And then you think about all the other beat writers that are reading your work and maybe looking at your work. And that's one thing that definitely crossed my mind a couple of times. And also, just like you said, like you were talking to people, you're talking to prosecutors, whatever. Those kind of connections can be sometimes good to have. And that's something like I enjoyed, doing the one-on-one interviews that I did with this one tight end's high school coach. He follows me on Twitter now. It's a connection I can have. Who knows if I'll ever need him again. But, it's one of those things that I really enjoy, just kind of meeting people that I never thought I'd ever talk to.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if your view of, being a young journalist changed at all this summer. What did you learn? And if that's it, that's the exact same for me. There are so many talented people out there that are the same age as us, and there's so many people from around the country that are just grinding as young journalists and doing everything they can to make their way in, which it's no secret that it's a competitive field. Some say it's on the decline, but there's still just so much competition to find those good jobs that are out there. And, that's been something that's been difficult, but it really makes you better. It really is tremendous how it just makes you so much better as a young journalist to be around these talented people. And for me, it was for 10 weeks every day working, full time. And before that, in a seminar in the spring that we got to do where we had guests come on with tons of experience in investigative journalism and, an abundance of knowledge and things that I can only hope to learn. So I'll take that with me as I start my senior year. I have some things I'd like to accomplish this year. I know we both do. We're both going to be, kind of trying to stay on top of student media and do all we can to kind of leave our legacy. Is there anything that you specifically want to do? Is your last year with student media, last year as a student journalist before we graduate and we're thrown into wherever our career takes us next?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I just kind of want to keep doing what I'm doing and just, staying on top of every story. And, just keep cranking them out. I mean, that's all you can do. Like you said, like it's a competitive field and you got to do anything you can. You can't pass down any opportunities that come your way. But, one thing I would like to do is, I'd like to help out the younger crowd a little more. I never really, I don't want to say no one tried to help me, but I never really kind of, a few people took me under the wing here and there, but I kind of just found my way on my own. And I feel like that's what you kind of have to do. You kind of have to take it upon yourself to really get involved. But I would like to, because, I think both of us, between the two of us, we have a lot of tremendous experience. And we're just seniors in college. So, I'd like to, share that with some of these younger guys coming up. And, that's always been a goal for me to help people. And it's cool to be in a position to do that. Because, we've both already seen it. Even last year, you got these, young freshmen, sophomores asking, what do you think of this and that? And it's cool to be able to share some insight. Obviously, we can't offer a lot. We're still learning a lot too. But there are certain things I'd like to, be able to share with them. And I'm sure you feel the same way. But yeah, I just want to keep grinding, man. It's all you can do here. You still got COVID. You still got COVID to cover, but you don't want to get away from the stories that feel normal. there could be basketball seasons. We still got to think about, okay, what are we going to ask Coach Schmidt and Coach Fleming before the season starts? I hope, COVID's going to be in the conversation, but I hope, things get a little bit more normal. And I feel like, my last point here on this topic, I feel like because of COVID, a lot of people are going to come out of it better in journalism because it was so intense. You did so much writing. I feel like I definitely got a lot stronger at reporting and writing the last couple months.
Yeah, definitely. And it's surreal to kind of be in a situation where we're the elder statesmen now because, I remember a short 3 years ago, as a wide-eyed freshman, looking for other people who you could learn from. And, if I find myself in that situation this year, then, I'll be glad to do it because it's the Bono way, helping people, showing them the way and trying to leave the J school and the clubs that we've been involved in a better place than we got them. I think that's really what I want to accomplish. And also, I just love the area here, and this could be likely the last year I live in the Moline area, and so covering all the little things that are here that mean so much to the local people really means a lot to me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited to do this year. Really, it's just to do the things that I won't be able to do after this because I'll have graduated. Fingers crossed. But So I think it's going to be a great year. Be on the lookout for lots of coverage from us on the Intrepid. And Mike, unless you have anything else to add, we'll wrap this up.
No, it's good to talk to you today, Jeff. We're actually you guys were actually right across from each other in my house during doing this, but it was good to talk to you over Zoom. We're 6 feet apart. That's the way it's going to be this year, but it was a good conversation, and I hope to do this a couple more times this year. Hopefully, the next time we're doing it, we're talking about a win or a loss from on a team or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. Be on the lookout for lots of work from Bonner Student Media this year, including Mike and I, and we'll hear from you soon.